So I've said many, many times before that I believe men are horrible selectors of wives, okay? Or horrible selectors of partners. That a lot of men, they evaluate things from what they may feel is a very logical place, but they overlook a lot of the deeper things that need to be evaluated or understood in order to choose the right woman to be with. Okay. And so, because of this lack of deeper understanding, it has led to men not just choosing the wrong woman, but in a scenario where there's multiple women involved, choosing the wrong one. Now, there's an argument to be made in many of these cases that neither person involved should have been chosen. But besides the case, I've seen them choose the wrong one over the other that could have been or may have been better for them. Either way, many of you or someone you have known maybe is going through it at the moment, experiences this situation where you're with a man and there's another woman involved and he ends up choosing that other woman. Okay. And that can be a very hurtful position to be in, very difficult to deal with. And I've seen a lot of women internalize that experience in a way that damages their self esteem, that undermines their ability to see their worth, right? And that can create fear and walls going forward with other men, even when the other men may actually be the one that was better for them. All right. So it creates this vicious cycle amongst everybody, continuously mismatching with the wrong person because of a lack of healing and all these different things. Either way, I want to help ensure that if you've ever been, if you've ever been through it, God forbid, go through it, know someone that's dealing with it right now, that there are some core principles that you remember to assist you with not going to a dark place or negative place so that you can stay well positioned to receive what is truly best for you. Okay? So, if a man chooses another woman over you, one of the things you have to remember is that doesn't make her better than you. Okay. So, again, I started off by saying how a lot of men choose from what they feel is a very logical place. They may have their boxes that they want to check off, right? And they're gonna see, okay, well, which woman is checking off more boxes, or which woman may provide certain benefits, whatever the case may be. But that doesn't speak to, if we're looking at that woman versus the other woman, essentially one having a better resume or being a better woman overall. Because in relationships, it's not simply about who's better, it's about fit. All right. And many times you're just not the right fit, or they are not, that man is not the right fit for you. Not to mention, there could be reasons such as, so for example, I remember seeing one situation where the reason why the man chose, let's just say, woman number two, was because she was paying his bills. She was taking care of the man. And for that man, even though he actually had more feelings for woman number one, he just felt like, yo, I can't afford to not be with woman number two. What he was hoping to accomplish was to keep woman. I hope I'm not losing y'all, confusing y'all with this, but what he was hoping was to keep woman number one in his life, because that's where where he was drawn to emotionally. But woman number two provided stability for him financially that he did not want to let go of or feel that he could afford to let go of. Now, of course, many will say, well, he should go out there, get a job, get himself stable. Of course. But unfortunately, a lot of men, if they're in that position already, they don't know when they're going to get out of that position. I'm not validating or making excuses for it. I'm just explaining to you what that man's mindset is in that moment. So if you don't have all the details of the situation and you just feel like, well, he just chose her over me, it's like, yeah, but that's something that I wouldn't, if I'm coaching you, I'm not going to be like, okay, well, start paying his bills so he can choose you instead. No, like, if that's how he's going to do things, let him go do what he needs to do. And if he is choosing for financial reasons, or because this woman lets him get away with acting a fool and doing all kinds of nonsense, well, then that just shows he's either not really the man for you or not truly ready to be the man that you need. Either way, the point that I'm trying to drive home to you here is that it is not just simply she is better than you. And I have to repeat that because I see so many women. Like, I'm thinking now of many scenarios where I'm coaching divorced women and the ex-husband goes on to now have a new girlfriend or a new wife, right? And the ex-wife is beating herself up or beating or dwelling on this idea of like, what does she have that I don't have? And what adds more salt to the wound is when the woman sees that man doing things for the new woman that he did not do for her. Okay, so that hurts even more. And again, the problem is internalizing it as it's a reflection of you rather than a reflection of something going on with him. Or because I'll give you one example. Sometimes I've seen one situation where guys married 13 years. Um, Woman was constantly asking him for more attention, to be more considerate, not being so stingy, all these things. They get a divorce, he gets married, he gets remarried, and now he's doing all these things, right? So she felt some kind of way. And I had to explain to her, I said, listen, that man does not want to be divorced twice. All right. He's stepping up to the plate right now because, yeah, he's thinking, okay, I got to figure out not a way not to lose this situation. One, you don't know how sustainable that is because if that's not really who he is, or that's not really in him, well, then it's not going to stick around forever. It's just right now, initially, to get this new relationship, to get this new marriage, so on and so forth. Now, are there scenarios where, listen, it's possible where the second woman is just a better fit for him and activate certain things in him. That's fine. But again, that doesn't make her better than you. It's just different. All right. And the same thing can happen to you as a woman. You can end up dating another man and find yourself doing things for him that you never did for your ex-husband or for your ex-boyfriend or whatever. And it's not necessarily always about on paper he was better, but he was a better fit for you. He was in better alignment with you. And that allowed you to flourish more in that relationship. But anyways, the bottom line is, do not make it about who's better, who's worse, all that kind of stuff. No, let them handle their business. If that's who he chose, so be it. You just need to make sure you're moving on the path that you need to be on. All right, so now another important thing you need to remember if a man chooses another woman over you is, are you upset that you lost the man or the competition? All right, so here's what I'm talking about. I have seen many situations where a woman's with a man, another woman comes into the picture, right? Let's just say a side chick, whatever. And even though the original relationship was on rocky grounds, things were not great, and there was parts of her, the original woman, who was already thinking about leaving this situation, finding her way out. Once she becomes aware of this other woman, and God forbid this other woman says anything about her, that will always escalate, not always, but in many cases, that's going to escalate things. But once she finds out about her, it's now, she becomes now consumed with not letting the other woman beat her. Okay? Like, it's not really about the man. It's about, I'm not going to let this other woman get the best of me. And like I said, if you add more to it, like the other woman talking trash or anything like that, or God forbid, let's say it's a woman that she knows. Let's say it's a co-worker or a friend of a family, something wild like that. All those elements can heighten a woman's willingness to now hold on just out of spite, because she cannot allow herself again to lose to this other woman, and becomes so consumed with it that she becomes blind to what the man is even doing. She's even lost sight of the fact that he had a side chick to begin with. Like, it's not even about him cheating anymore. It's just about, no, she's not going to lose this other woman. So if you ever find yourself dealing with this, or someone you know dealing with this has to be looked at, because when you can separate the fact that this is not really about the man, this is about the woman, number one, that will help with you breaking free from this negative, unhealthy attachment, right? But then now, once we can understand that it's really about the woman, you got to ask yourself, like, you're fighting over potentially holding on to someone who doesn't do you right anyway, who doesn't make you happy anyway. How worth it is that? And even though, granted, there are some scenarios where the second woman has been disrespectful and all these things, one thing that we have to always remember is that you don't know what he tells her. So what I've seen in so many scenarios is that the animosity that develops between the original woman and the new woman is due to the lies that he's feeding both women. Because to this second woman, he's not going to be going to her saying, oh, yeah, my girlfriend or my wife is so amazing and wonderful and the best person in the world, but I just want to get me another woman anyway. Like, that's not the story he's going to be telling her. Chances are, whether he truly feels that way or not, he's only going to be, if they even discuss it, he's only going to be feeding the negative. She's this, she's that. She treats me poor, all these bad things. All right. So naturally, her perception of you is negative, the other woman, and is going to lead to her maybe talking trash or not viewing you with the same respect that she would have otherwise viewed you if maybe she heard the entire whole story. Now, that doesn't make it okay. Doesn't make it acceptable. I'm just telling you this is what happens. All right. And on the flip side, you, the original woman, can be under the wrong impression about how this whole situation started. Does this other woman even know who you are? Does she even know that this man is in a relationship? Like, there's so many details that you don't know that maybe haven't been discussed, right? That's creating this environment that's making it more tense. Anyways, the point is, do not get in a fight with the other woman. And let me also say this, because this has happened before. It's happened multiple times, but there's one situation I can think of where a woman, she was married, um, they were going through a divorce, or they were going through a rough time. So it wasn't an official divorce yet. And husband starts dating another woman during the process, right? And I say process, not as in the paperwork is already in, just in the fact that right now they're going through these rough times. They're kind of, I guess you could say they're separated, but not really. It's weird. Either way, he's hanging out with the other woman at the other woman's house. The wife tracks him, pulls up to the other woman's house, knocks on her, banging on her door, starts cursing her out. Long story short, she ends up going to jail. And luckily, she was able to get out of that situation without serving any jail time or anything like that. But this is just another example of, like, it ain't worth risking your freedom, your sanity, right? Just your overall peace because of this other person that's involved, or over someone who's even putting you in that position to begin with. Okay. And you got to take a step back, because again, in that scenario, she got very consumed with the competition with the other woman, which is what led to her actions. And it's just a very slippery slope that can lead to a lot of bigger problems. All right, so let's keep this thing going. And so another important thing you have to remember, if he chooses another woman over you, is that this may simply be a blessing in disguise. All right. So listen, breakups hurt. But when you lose someone who's not respecting you and treating you right, it is not a loss, it is a gain. And even, let's just, because some scenarios, maybe you weren't being mistreated. Maybe everything seemed to be going great. And out of nowhere, this man has chosen to leave you and go be with somebody else. one, you have to understand that that speaks to something was off. Even though you may not have picked up on it, something was already off in that relationship for him to even do that. Okay. And if it didn't happen then, it was going to happen at some point in maybe some way, shape, or form. And so this is an opportunity to take a step back. This is an opportunity to reevaluate things. This is an opportunity to understand that for many people, there was a process of overlooking a lot of red flags, right? Like you got to understand, as much as a lot of people may say things have blindsided them, it would caught them off guard, and I'm not saying that never happens. But when I sit down with women and have sessions, and we really dig deeper into their situations, what you'll find, and I'm going to say 99% of the time to just always leave room for the exception, though I have yet to experience it. But 99% of the time, there are red flags or there are issues that they picked up on, but they looked past, right? They downplayed it. They figured maybe it's not that big of a deal, or they figured, well, I don't want to have to bring it up and cause any problems, so let me just keep it moving. Either way, there were things that needed to be addressed. And so that man making that choice to go in a different direction, it's like, listen, this is not. There's another quote: when one door closes, God will open another one for you. And I know that when you're in it, it's like all these things that sound cliche. You're not really trying to hear all that. It doesn't automatically make you feel better, but they're still true. And I still have to tell you and remind you and encourage you that listen, there is better waiting for you, even if it doesn't feel like that at the moment, right? And when you shift your mindset to focus on where's the blessing here rather than what you think you lost, you allow yourself to receive that better. You allow yourself to walk on a better path, right? For many of you, again, you may have got caught up in who you wanted and lost sight of what you needed. All right. And that happens to a lot of people. I would argue that probably happens to everybody at least once in their life. Um, and it can easier happen when we don't know who we are and we don't understand at the core of what we need or where God wants to position us in life. So it's important that in this moment you take this time to do some inner work. You take this time to make sure, okay, what can I learn from this as well, right? And not just dwell on the bad. Let me also say this: in a situation where things were seemed to be going really well, right? Even if there was a couple possible red flags in there, it overall seemed like things were great. And this happens. You got to understand one thing that's common is people get scared. It doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion. And there's a lot of people that when they feel something real, it like overwhelms them. And so, as I mentioned in point number one, there's always all kinds of different reasons that don't speak to the quality of the relationship or who you are versus this other woman. It just boils down to that individual hasn't healed from something, and they may have felt something so intense with you that triggered them in a way that they're like, yo, I can't do this. And they had to find their way out. So there's a lot of different possibilities. But even if that's the case, that's not for you to take that and say, oh, well, then let me just hold on to hope that they're going to come back and, let me just linger around. No, no, let them go figure themselves out and you get on the path that you need to be on. All right, so before we get on to the next point, I got a couple more to go. Just want to give you this opportunity to join my special coaching program. In this program, you're going to have access to me for an entire year where you'll be able to ask your personal questions. So basically, like having, I don't know, a personal coach assistant or with you to help guide you in your dating situations and all these things. On top of that, you're going to have access to modules on how to heal, tapping to your feminine energy, meeting more relationship-minded men, and so on. Thousands of women have been helped by this. So take advantage of this opportunity. Go to receivingmyblessings.com and join the program today. All right. So now, the next important thing you need to remember if he chooses another woman over you is do not start changing who you are. Okay. So a lot of women in this process, let's start with while being in the process of getting caught up in that competition with some other woman that he's seeing. And listen, sometimes I've been using examples of marriage and boyfriend and girlfriend, but let's face it, this happens also just in the simple dating phase, right? And some women do get into these battles of trying to win over the man in this dating phase. And so, with that, sometimes you'll have a woman who thinks, okay, well, if I start acting this kind of way or being this kind of woman, then he'll choose me, right? Or even I had a situation once, and you may have heard this story from me before, but there was a young woman. She was dating a man. This is a true story. She messaged me on social media, and she says to me, can you give me some tips on how I can please my man better sexually, right? And I forgot what question I asked her, to be honest with you, but I basically asked her a question to be like, tell me more about the situation. And she said, well, she's dating a guy. Now in this scenario, he's dating 6 other women. All right. He has a woman for every day of the week. And she, I believe, was his Saturday girl. Friday or Saturday. I can't remember the exact day. So, anyways, um, I'm like, well, listen, if he's dating a girl every day of the week, and she was the young, she as she described it, she was the youngest and the hottest. All right. So she's like, if she can just put it on him, she'll win him over. And I said, well, listen, let me tell you something. Uh, if that's the way he's going about things, you nothing like he doesn't respect you. So there's not gonna be you trying to do all this to get him is pointless, right? And again, I forget some of the details, but it boiled down to it turns out let's just say this sounds funny, but Monday through Saturday girls, those 6 he was all having sex with, they all knew of each other, right? They've seen each other, cross paths, all that stuff. But he had a Sunday girl. Sunday girl, he wasn't having sex with. He would not allow the other girls to know who she was, see her, be in her vicinity, anything like that. And I was like, listen, that's who he actually is the one that he wants to be with. I hate to break it to you, but that's the one he holds with high respect. You know what I'm saying? And that shows you that sex isn't the key to winning his heart over. Because if it was, then why does Sunday girl not have to have sex with him, but she's the one that's being put on the higher pedestal? You see what I'm saying? So, anyways, the point of me trying to bring up that story is you'll see women sometimes trying to behave in certain ways, trying to think that sex will win the guy over, all these things. And it's like, listen, stop. Number one, don't get this confused with being a better version of yourself. I'm always going to encourage people to become better versions of themselves. So if there's areas about you that could use some work, then of course embrace that. Not because of that man or beating out the other woman, but for you first and foremost. But yes, as a symptom of that, it may give you more. It'll exude your value more in any dating situation. But that's different than being something you're not. That's different than trying to pull out all these different tricks. Because even with the bedroom stuff, it's like sometimes you'll have some women try to be extra freaky, but they're not really into that. And it's like, listen, if you introduce that into the dynamic, and let's just say it does work, right? And let's just say he does like choose you because man, this is really good. But you can't sustain it because you're not really into that. And you don't really like that. And it makes you uncomfortable. So it's like, what are we really doing this for? And is it worth what you have to sacrifice to engage in that? And that's yourself. That's your true self. That may be your values and things of that nature. So, bottom line is, don't get caught up being someone different. Now, let me also move it on to a different level. Sometimes a woman goes through that situation where someone else gets chosen over her. And so now she projects that scenario onto her new situations, and she tries to be this different woman in these new situations. And what's crazy is you're trying to be something you're not realizing the new man would have loved the real you. The new man would have preferred the woman that just went through getting chosen over, so to speak, but you let that situation get the best of you to where you internalized it, and now you got away from sticking to your true self. This is why, again, it's not about behaving in a way that's going to win someone over. It's about being your true self and seeing who actually fully embraces that, right? You should never have to deviate from being you, but just be the best version of it. So don't be someone different. Just continue to be yourself. All right. So uh, the next important thing for you to do, and I got a bonus after this. Uh, if a man chooses another woman over you, is to make sure you heal. All right. So remember, I mentioned that sometimes this is a blessing, if not always, a blessing in disguise. And one of those blessings is you needed an opportunity to take a step back and to go deeper within yourself to get to the root of certain issues. Sometimes the man that you entertained for as long as you did is due to things you have not resolved and healed from in your past, right? Again, this isn't about trying to figure out why he chose her over you. It's about figuring out why you were even there to begin with, right? What was really going on here? Do you have walls in your life that need to be brought down? Y'all have heard me say it before. The same walls you have up to protect you are the same walls blocking your blessings. So the only way to resolve that issue is to heal. And what's important to understand always is that healing is not simply healing about that situation, right? Like this man choosing the other woman. No, it's healing from everything, from your childhood, previous relationships, sometimes friendships, you name it. You got to go through that entire process. Now, that is something that I walk you through in my membership group that I mentioned earlier. I also have books like Love After Heartbreak that you can check out. But either way, it's extremely, extremely important, because what you don't may not realize is your lack of healing is going to keep you in a negative cycle. Your lack of healing is going to make it harder for you to actually recognize and embrace when you are dealing with the right man. Your lack of healing will cause you to struggle with fully getting over a situation like this or any breakup. Because again, sometimes, if, for example, your past experiences and hurts have led you to believe you are not good enough, and you haven't resolved the root of that. And let's say the root of it started from your father. Just going to throw it out there, right? So now this breakup happens, this man chooses another woman. And the reason why you dwell on it so hard is not because of the man, not because he was right for you or anything like that, because here it goes again, I'm not good enough, right? But as I said earlier, it's not about not being good enough, not being better than the other person, whatever. It's just that's not where you belong. But without the healing from the past issues, it becomes harder to detach from the situation because you keep dwelling on that. And then you project that onto your future dealings. Or even some people, let's just call it out. Some people just go run and go hide in the corner. Lord, forgive me, I gotta say it because it's hitting my spirit. Some people go hide behind God. And I say that to you with love and respect. And I understand. And please do not confuse me. Don't confuse what I'm saying with me implying that going to God is a bad thing. Not at all. When I say hiding behind God, it's like using that relationship as an excuse to go lock yourself in a corner somewhere, because really what it is that you don't want to have to put yourself out there. You don't want to go through the process of healing. It's easier to just say, no, I'm just going to wait on God in a way that says I'm relinquishing myself of any responsibilities of what needs to be done in my life. And instead, well, God will just handle it. Randomly will handle it. But it's like, no, you're just hiding. If you want God to handle it, then talk to God about what you need to be doing. If you want God to handle it, then make sure you're doing your part in healing, right? But just don't go hiding and then say, "Oh, I'm working on myself." You ain't. I see people. They tell me, "Oh, I took the last 2 years to heal and work on myself." All right, how are you any different from 2 years ago? You're the same person. So did you go work on yourself or did you go distract yourself and hide? And again, I don't say that to make you feel bad. I say that to make you aware of what's going on so that you can start doing things in a way that's going to be truly beneficial for you. So just make sure healing is a part of your process. All right. So before we wrap this up, I got a bonus for you. So one more thing to remember, if a man ever chooses another woman over you, is do not be mad at God. Okay? So I had to put this on this video because I have seen many situations where things don't work out for someone in a relationship, whether it's a choosing of another person or just things falling apart, whatever the case may be. And in many scenarios, that person being upset with God. Maybe they felt from coming to their own conclusions, they felt that God, this is what God told them to do, or they want them to be with this person, or they really believed this will work out, or they've been praying so hard and they felt like, well, then God didn't answer my prayers. Whatever the case may be, there's a little level of resentment towards God about the situation. And one thing I always tell people is like, don't confuse what God wanted you to go through with what you chose to deal with. Let me repeat that again. Do not confuse what God wanted you to go through with what you chose to deal with. Because there's a difference. There's a lot of cases where we're making decisions for ourselves and expecting God to come clean it up, right? We're coming to our own conclusions rather than really making sure we get in prayer and hear God within our spirit on how we should navigate a situation. And then when things don't work out, we're blaming God. And it's like, no, that's not right. It's not good. Okay. And listen, sometimes things don't work out because God is saving you from something that, again, you thought you wanted, but wasn't really best for you. And He's actually trying to direct you to a better place. So there's another, I'm just throwing out a bunch of quotes today. Rejection is just God's redirection to better. All right. So don't focus on the rejection. Don't focus on how this didn't work out the way that you wanted. Focus on, all right, where am I being redirected? What should I be doing now? What does God have for me? Because if this isn't for me, then there's something better. You got to always remember that. If this isn't for me, I don't care if it's a job, I don't care if it's a relationship, I don't care what it is. If this isn't for me, then there's something better. And I'll be real with you. The path from that point to receiving something better may feel like crap. I'm just going to be real. All right. I'm not going to act like it's going to be all sweet and it's going to feel great and it's going to be this wonderful, joyous process. No, it may be a very tough process, but if you can get through it and let God guide you, and again, not direct any negativity towards God, but understand that He wants better for you, then you will be able to receive that blessing that's waiting for you. Thank you for watching this video. I pray it was helpful to you. Be sure to watch this one over here on This Is How You Break Free from a Man and Reclaim Your Peace. Literally going through a divorce, literally, while still continuing to post like it's an amazing relationship, okay?